eModels.co.uk. Make something awesome.
Shut up and sit down.
Hello gang, Colin here, Festa 67's workshop, and welcome to part 3 of the Suzuki GSX-RR 2020 Ecstar build. And we're whopping down a bit of X32 titanium silver, folks, to get this beautiful bike underway for painting. And obviously all the paints have been kindly supplied by my sponsor, eModels.co.uk. So pop over, have a looky-loo at the website, grab yourself one of these kits and build along with good old Festa, and you too can turn out a pretty damn decent motorbike. So I'm just going to scoot over these with a bit of the titanium silver, start getting that down. So it's just a quick little time lapse on a bit of spray, and I often get asked by people what airbrush I use, what spray booth setup I've got, so that's why I've added it to this little video. So I'm using a UMP Apex airbrush, and I'm knocking down a bit of the old titanium silver, folks, and I'm just putting down thin coats, slapping it over the bits and bobs like so, and then we can start getting all the different bits and bobs all together. So we're going in now with a bit of X34 metallic brown on the clutch basket there, and then we're going to go over the engine block with a bit of XF even 16 flat aluminium, peeps. So I shall be doing the engine, the frame and the swing arm with that. So yep, I've time lapsed this bad boy, as you can see, and I'm putting down 3 or 4 thin coats just to get everything covered. So we'll then be able to build up all the sub-assemblies then. And it's had a black base coat done on all of this, a nice gloss black, and it just helps the aluminium pop, or the aluminum, whichever way you want to say it. I'll say it both ways, I won't get corrected by Fox then. So yeah, there you go, get you some of that. So we're going to do the tank with a bit of titanium gold X31, and this has got 2 colours on it. The top part of it is like a flat aluminium, so I'll be putting the gold down first, letting that go off, and then once that's fully cured I'll come back and mask off any little bits and bobs. So I'll probably spray that off air. We'll see how this little video goes. And then obviously you got the airbox as well, so we can scoot that over, give that a bit of a larrapin, as you can see, and it comes up really quite nice. These paints through this Apex airbrush really do go down well, so yeah, it's worth getting. I've got a little bit of X22 clear gloss going on over the top of this. There is a reason, and it will become apparent, so I might as well start getting down some bits and bobs of gloss on there, and I'm putting a barrier down quite deliberately on this. So yeah, we've got a bit more silver going on to get some of that on there like so, because this is a 2-tone motorcycle, folks, and we've got the lacquer paints and that to go on, so I'm glossing as a barrier between bits and bobs just to test a little theory out. So yeah, so you never know, it might work. If it doesn't, I'll make boo-boo noises, but we'll carry on putting some of this down just to start getting the base colour of what I want. It's a little bit darker than I want, but this is just to cover over the black, so I shall then gloss over it like I said, and then come back at it with some lacquer paint, and I'll probably do that in 2 or 3 days time once this is all cured. So you might see it at the end of the video, you never know. So we got a bit of mecha varnish satin going down on some of these bits, just to take off the hyper gloss and just to knock it down a little bit. For me, it just takes off that hyper shine. I don't want to go too mad with the shine on this. I'll stick the shine to the body panels, but the inner parts I just want to have a little satin finish on. They'll probably never get seen anyway, because this is going to go on display up in Stoke at the eModels shop, folks. So if you are in there and leant on the counter, have a little looky-loo underneath, and you get to see all the builders' builds all in glass display cabinets underneath the tills and that. So it's worth having a looky-loo. You'll get to see all the kits that we pine for, that we've given back. So again, just doing a little satin varnish, and I'm scooting this through a cheaper airbrush, because I tend to use a separate airbrush for me glosses and me clear coats. So I'm just knocking that through on a little pistol grip airbrush there, just to get that going. Same with the engine, just give that a bit of a satin, just to knock it down a tad. And you'll notice I've been in and brush painted in some of the detail there. It's pretty much using the paints in the kit instructions, and I've just gone in and given them a little brush paint. Just carry on giving this all a good old scoot over, just to protect the paint. Same with the wings there on the front. And yeah, this is the LP mica silver going down, and also a TS19 metallic blue, hence why I gloss coated between the layers, because I knew I was coming back with a lacquer paint. Okay. And then you have an X22 clear gloss going down. There has been a little time window between this, folks, so it is curing before I do this. So we're just misting over all of this, because we got the decals to go down, see, and I like to put the decals down over a gloss. But as you can see, it's beginning to take shape. I do love this colour scheme. It's one of those, if you haven't watched MotoGP, folks, have a looky-loo on the sports channels on whatever provider you're using. Just go in and have a look and watch the bikes, and if you don't fall in love with this Suzuki that you see going around, then yeah, because it is beautiful. It is the most sexiest GP bike on the grid, it really is. So let's have a little pre-assemble. This is an idea that I've kind of robbed off of dear old Luke over at Scale Model Motor, and basically it is just assemble the bits and bobs to the empty frame, whop your decals down on all your panels, and then you can strip it back down and put your clear coats over it whilst you're building up the rest of the bike. And it's a nifty little way of doing it, to be honest with you. I used to do it at the end, but this is a lot easier. So little shout out for Luke there, because nifty little idea, see. He's teaching us old dogs new tricks. That's what he's doing. So I'm just going to screw the panels on, and then we'll probably sling it on the jig, and then we'll just drop it off as and when we need to start putting some decals on. So I just want to make sure this is buttoned down. Lets me recut some of the threads as well, because paint would have probably got in the holes. But you can already see that two-tone metallic blue and silver. It just works, it really does. And I've put a nice soft cloth down over the bench just to try and protect the paint where I'm laying the bike onto the flat surface. It just gives it a little cushion, because this is the stage, folks, that you don't want to scratch your bike up, because it'll all end in tears like it sometimes does with me. I've done it many a time. Normally when I've got the the Tamiya quality screwdriver in my hand, you get a twitch and you go gouge straight across your paint. So keep an eye out, folks, take your time. And you'll find a lot of these, you just do a little turn at a time. Start screwing the fairing panels on. And get this bad boy to that stage there. So, what are we up to now? We've got a bit of sub-assembly going on now. We've got the suspension cones and things like that. So we'll have a little look and do a bit of brush painting. And we'll come and do all the little detail bits and bobs on things like the brake discs and stuff like that. All the little nuts and bolts and detritus. Just to bring them all up to where you want them to be. So let's have a little looky-loo at putting some of these bad boys on, because I'm getting itchy fingers now. And it's, yeah. As you can see, I've got my bike on my little jig there at the back. That's a little 3D print I've done just to give myself a little bike jig, because yeah, I couldn't afford a moto jig because they're very expensive. So next best thing for me was to sit and compile my own STL file and print that. So just helps me, keeps the bike safe whilst the decals are drying and all of that, and also when you're assembling it, it can aid you in assembling. So we're just following the instructions and cutting out the decals as per the pamphlet there that's on me left, and on there you'll have all your decals with the numbers, and I tend to just cut them out like so, lay them out roughly in order of what they're going to be applied to the model. And then to me right, I've got me heated water in my little motorhead cup there. You can see it on me water heater, and it just keeps the water warm even. Get your words out, Colt, whilst you're putting the decals down. And I'm using some Ultimate decal solutions that you can see at the back of me jig there. And I've got the normal, strong and extra strong. So we'll start off with normal, just to get the decals down, and then any that we need to get to conform to the rather beautiful curves of this motorcycle, we'll then throw in a bit of strong and extra strong. So I tend to use my scalpel blade to move me decals about, and a lot of folks cringe when I do this, but I'm definitely putting on a tiny bit of pressure. I have tried using brushes to move them about and that, but it don't seem to work for me. I'm all or nothing. So with this scalpel blade, in my mind, because I know it's a knife and it could tear, I tend to put a less bit of pressure on. But with the brushes, my decals tend to ripple up when I do it. So I use my scalpel blade. It just works for Festa. So just lay that along, and there's a little recessed seam line in this side panel, and on the decal itself there's a little gap where it's clear, so that's what you want to line up. You want to line that up with the line, and then dress the decal over the surface as best you can. It's not going to conform straight away. This is where you might need extra strong decal solutions further down the line. But just to get it to actually adhere to the model initially, that's what we're doing at this stage. And then just brush out any air bubbles that you see along any of the panel lines, and just work it over the model. Press it in a few little places that she needs a bit of support, and then just brush away to the edges any air bubbles, and then they'll just fly out the edge of the decal like so. Use that to your advantage, folks. Start from the middle, work your way out. So we can put a bit on the fairing now. And it's quite strange when you look at the decals, because you're like, oh my god, you know, you're trying to spell out the bike name and all of that lot, but the decals are really well made to conform to the model. So when you initially line it up, line up your letters with any of the protruding screw holes, and then just let it fall naturally around the fairing curve like so, and then you can start brushing it out to conform. You might need to remove the front fairing or a couple of screws just to get the decals to conform, but initially I wanted to just get the decal in place. I shall then loosen off the front fairing, create a wider seam so I can brush this decal around the edges where the panels join. But for the moment we'll just get it down, start getting it reasonably in place, and then we can do the lipstick and mascara bit at the very end, folks. And it does help, because by the time I go to put the strong and that in, this would have started to pretty much bed itself in place. So it won't be that much to do. So I'll just definitely wiggle that in there. And then we will loosen that off just to get that to conform, because it's got a tiny little overhang, which is good because you can fold that round that panel line, so when you do put the next piece on, you get a continuation of the lettering. So we've got a tiny little gap by my left thumb there now between the fairing, as you can see, and it lets me just brush this around. And then again you can lose the edge of the letter I up underneath the intake there of the fairing where the radiator is, where I just touched with my finger. So we just move that around to where we're happy with it, and then we can start attacking that. But look at that. Oh, isn't it? You want to take this out for a nice Friday disco, don't you? I do. So we got, if I remember, the 100th anniversary decal to start going on, and then we can start with some of the sponsors and all of that. So we've got the RRX, like so. So we can get that on there. There's the little RR with a checkered flag there. Again, use your decal map, your pamphlet. It's just on my left, and that will let you have a quick looky-loo over there as a reference. You can see where the decal needs to go, and you can just make sure you're getting it right. And again, you try not to lay your hand down on what you've previously done, folks. So between takes on this, I've actually let the Suzuki lettering dry a little bit. I've gone away and had something to eat and come back, and then I'm putting these ones on, because you don't want a whole side of wet decals, because you're bound to lean on one and it'll end in tears. So let's just slide this off and get this on, like so. Just whop that straight off like that. And again, where you got your gap, you can just run your blade through, see, and that will let you then have your cut in your decal. So once we've got it in position and it's dried, I shall scoop through the middle of it and run my blade there just to separate the two halves of the decal. But for the moment, we're just positioning it where we want to. I'm just using the edge of my thumb now just to move it around, and then we can pink the blade through. This is a fresh blade, and then brush like so. Look at that. Whoa, isn't it? You know you want one. And you can grab this bike at eModels.co.uk. They've got loads and loads of different Tamiya bikes. I'm going to be building quite a few more of them going forward, so keep an eye out for what I'm up to and grab yourself a bargain, and you can build along with me, peeps. So we've got the Ecster sponsorship going on just underneath there, like that. And then we just quickly reference the pamphlet to see how far over it's going to go, and then I can just start moving it into its final position. Get me brush with a bit of warm water on, and then just apply a little bit of brushage to the decal, and then we can start finally moving it into its last position, ready then to do the seam cut where the panels join. So I just want to move that over a tad with the brush because it's not quite where I want it. So we can just put a little bit of extra water under that surface and I can just move it around a bit more. This is the stage where I get a little particular, and yeah, I kind of want to try and get it as near as damn it perfect. So again, getting the air bubbles out. Where I've got that little gap, it will give me just enough room to drop the blade through, folks. Like that. Yeah, coming together nicely. And then obviously a few bit of sponsorship there, manufacturer's name and a bit of sponsorship going on there. So we'll just drop that in place like so, and then we can start moving this around just to get it in the correct position. There you go. And if you notice, I'm just spun my scalpel around. I'm using that back edge as well as the tip, just to move it where I want it. And I just find that I can drag a decal around quite aptly with this. And just try and find an area. Sometimes I use something obvious like a screw or a fixing, and then I'll move the decal to where it needs to be. And if any of it then lays over a screw, I quickly remove the screw. And then I can go in with some extra strong and it will sink the decal into where that screw goes. And then when it dries, pierce it with the tip of your blade. Put a bit more extra strong in. And then you can pop the screw straight back in, see? You don't lose any of the shape of the decal then. So we can now quickly take this screw out just to get rid of it. Like that. Get the old tweezers on the sight of goodness. And I'll put my screw back there. I've got a little magnetic tin that sits just to my left there, that all my screws and everything sit in, just so that I don't lose them, like I'm trying not to there. Yeah, it will pick up, honest. There you go, bink, get hold of that. Right, so we can now quickly move this around now that that screw's out. And get that in its final position and start brushing out any other bubbles and all of that. There you go, look at that. Oh, isn't it? I want to make brum brum noises, but there's no engine in there, so yeah. We can imagine some brum brum noises. So we're going to just have a quick looky-loo at my pamphlet, just to see what is the next decals to go on. And don't forget, head on over and grab one of these. The link is in the description. All the details are there on this build. I'll just quickly pierce that like so, so that then when I go over it with a stronger decal solution later, it will sit down and I'll be able to put the screw back in. But look at that. Wow, isn't it? Yeah, you want one. Come on, you know you do. Slap it in your basket, as Ted would say. Right, let's have a look, see what we've got to go on here. We've got some smaller Ecster logos to go on. If I remember rightly, these go on the side of the main fairing, so I think we'll be able to get some of them decals on as well and start getting a bit of love shown to the main fairing. So I might get this one on and then bung it on the jig just to be on the safe side whilst I put the rider numbers on and that. So we've got that to do. I've got a feeling we might be able to make a good bit of progress in this episode. And it's just a matter of taking your time, folks. I mean, luckily for me, filming this, I can edit out, you know, where decals are dried overnight. So bear that in mind. You know, give yourself a bit of time. If you need it to dry, if you're getting a bit worried that you're going to start ripping decals because you know, they haven't dried, let it dry overnight and then come back. So we're just going to put little Ecsters up underneath his rear end there. Get them in. Start putting them in place. And I've got a cover that goes on underneath here, underneath the seat pan, that protects the fuel tank. But I haven't put it in yet because, as you can see, it just lets me whop my thumb in there to grip the model at the moment. So I will come back and put them on before I assemble the bike. But for the moment, I'm focusing on the exterior panels because I want to then let them dry and then get ready to put the clear coat down over the top of the decals. This is very therapeutic stage, I find. Any build, just sit there and do this. And like I say, it's a bit of an odd way to do it at the beginning like this, but it works, folks, especially on the bikes. And a lot of the guys I noticed that do the super shiny cars, Big Paul does it over at ISM. He does it with ease. He'll do the body shell, paint it and all of that, and then put the decals down, and then that's drying and getting clear coated, and he'll sit and build the rest of the car. So it's a good technique to pick up, folks. Have a go, try it. If it works for you, keep it. If it don't, tweak it, make it your own. So I'll just move this decal just where I want it. I want to quickly check that. Yep. Better to be safe than sorry. Right, we got a couple just to go up here on the side of the main fairing. So we'll put that on. And then we can look at lining that up, because there's quite a few different decals to go on this fairing as well. So we'll put them in place. Just line up where they need to be. Quickly give it a dab with some warm water like that. And they do dry quite quickly, but I like to leave decals for a good few days once I've done them. So this will sit on the jig in a cupboard to stop any dust getting on it, and I'll probably let this dry 2, 3, 4 days, and then I'll pull the bike back out, I'll clear coat it, and then that'll go away for another week and let everything harden up and that before I start assembling the bike. There's no rush to do this at the end of the day, folks. You take as long on a build as you choose, and that's what I tend to do with these. No point in rushing it because mistakes will happen. Right, let's have a look at numbers and bits. So let's just cut off some decals that we don't need at the moment, put them to one side, and then we'll come back and have a look at main details that we need to add to this fairing, because hopefully by the end of this episode we'll have it in a good place. So just pop some of them on, and these decals go just underneath where the throttle control would be on the front of the fairing there. So just quickly check with me pamphlet just to make sure that I am right in what I've just said, because I'm bound not to be. What else have we got under there? We've got the rider's number. Get that on there. So let's have a look what we got there. And a few of you have been in touch that have picked one of these bikes up and have been building along with us, and it is nice to get your feedback. So it's nice to see that some of you have actually gone out and grabbed one of these bad boys and have decided to build along with this video series. So welcome aboard to you. Thank you for getting in touch with me and letting me know what you're up to and how far you've got. Really is nice to see how you're all coming along with your builds. So pop your photos to us and I'll put them in the gallery for you. Nice to see people just, you know, especially newcomers to the hobby, just coming in, just starting, having a bit of a build along with us. And I try to do these builds pretty much as near as damn it out of the box as I can for the beginner builders and noobs, because it just helps you get into the hobby. And it lets you see that you can get a nice result for your first builds. And then if you want to take it to the next level and do detail up and things like that, you then feel confident to go and do it. You know, I've done it. I've put detail up on bikes, you know, it is out there. But getting the basics at this stage just helps people's confidence grow when you're coming into the hobby. And also, you know, we are on limited budgets now. You know, the cost of living and all of that. So, you know, if you want to grab it and just do it like I'm doing it here, at least you can, folks. So we'll just cut through that now that that's had a bit of time to dry. And just quickly flick the edges with a brush just to lay them down. I just want to fold that down with a blade. And now these should be ready to apply now. So what have we got there? We can put that just across the top there. Now if I remember, this goes at a bit of a jaunty angle from what I remember. I could be wrong. But yeah, get that brushed on. And look at it, really is taking shape. Now you can see I've put it on the jig. It's because I've got the big number 50 going down on here, and I'm doing this Sylvain Guintoli, and he's their Suzuki test rider, and a lot of where the bikers come to has been down to this guy, and he's put a lot of effort into the testing of this, and you know, he's given great feedback to the team in where they should develop the bike. And it went on to win the World Championship. So props to Ginters. That's why I'm doing his number. And he's a really nice bloke and all. So yeah. And he's one of the commentators on the sports channels now that does the commentary on MotoGP. So yeah. So we'll just move this into position and start getting this decal to start conforming to the front curves, and it's a compound curve on this, so it goes in multiple directions, folks. So you will want to just keep an eye on where the bubbles are and just work it gently from the center to the outside like that. It will start laying down quite nicely. So again, if you need to come back at it, then you can. So whilst that's doing its thing, I've got the opportunity to whop the other side decals on now that I've got it on the jig. So I'm going to go ahead and do them. And then if there is any fettling to do on the others, I can go back at them. And as long as you haven't gloss coated the bike, you can go back with your decal solutions as often as you want if you need the decals to conform. Get it all down where you're 100% happy before you put a gloss coat down over them. And that's all I tend to do. I'll leave it 24 hours. If I look at it and it still needs a bit of work, I'll just get a stronger decal solution on there. So we'll just tuck that up underneath like so, in the hope that that bonds. And then we can just start deftly brushing that along there. Like so. Now there is a little bit of overhang on these decals where the panels join the frame, so don't fret too much, because when you take this apart you can always go back at them and tuck the edges around. But for the moment I'm just getting the main part of the decals on. And I can then disassemble this seat unit and get the decals to fold round afterwards. So just check, make sure that that is going to sit where I want it to. So I just want to bring it down a tad. Yeah, try and get it on there a little bit better than that. So let's just pull that down and move that over like so. Again, you know, if you need to hold it at arm's length just to make sure everything's lining up, do so. Because you can get it a bit skew-whiffed. It's very easy to do. I'll just quickly check in to my left there on my pamphlet, just make sure that it's looking reasonably in line. And bear in mind there is a tiny overhang, so I can fold that round. So that's what I'm looking for at the front there, where the letter S is, because it goes round underneath where the radiator is, see. So I want to make sure I've got enough for it to wrap round there, and then I can start brushing these bubbles out now, like so. And then just following the contours of the bike, brushing any bubbles out towards the edge, and then they'll just fire out the side. And that's it. Just go up a tad more, just like so. There you go. And the temptation is to fettle. Don't. Just let the solutions do their thing, and you'll then get a better result. But she is really beginning to start coming along now. I'm pleasantly pleased with how this build's going. I've got some final bits and bobs going on. I've got the Suzuki logo going on the side of the tank there, and there's a little raised S on this tank, and that's what the decal sits on. And then when you put your stronger solutions on and it sucks into that contour, you then get a nice raised red letter S, folks. So just adds that little touch to the bike. So I've got the one on the other side there, conforming nicely. So he's coming along. Quite happy with that. Yeah, brum brum. Yeah, I know. So I should be able to get some decals on the Mudguard as well. Let's have a look, see what we got. Sure, I've got the Centenary to go on as well, and the rest of these fairing ones, so let's get them on. All the tiny little details now can go on. Now I've let some of this dry because it was quite a lot of fresh decals on there, so this has dried overnight, and I've come back the following day here and started decaling the rest. So just try and get these reasonably in symmetry. I'll just move that down just a frackers, and I'm trying to get the angles more or less a mirror of each other. Can be quite difficult to do, but persevere with it. It will happen. You know, just put a bit of warm water on there, bit of your setting decal solution, and you'll be fine. It'll go. And I must say, Tamiya seem to have upped their game on this kit as well. I really am mightily impressed with the quality of it. I mean, their bikes are top notch anyway, but for some reason this bike, I think the one-piece tank helps, the one-piece fairing helps. You know, a lot of the earlier releases, you know, you'd have a big old seam line down the middle of the fairings and the tanks. Well, they seem to have stopped doing that a bit now, so it makes it a bit easier. You might still have the odd mould line that you need to address with a bit of sanding, but basic model skills, you can do that. Just sit there, get rid of the seam, get rid of the raised mould lines. time spent at that stage saves a lot of heartache later on. Yeah, it's coming together, and it's just backwards and forwards, just lining everything up. That's where having this jig comes in handy, because I can spin the model around on this quite happily and see from multiple angles without actually handling the bike. So there you go, look at that. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, I'm liking that. Liking that a lot. And considering this has got to have a clear coat on it, it's come up nice. Right, what next? What next, Cole? Oh yeah, I think we get some of them lower fairing decals on now. Why not? Might as well. Right, now that the decals are dried on the other side, I just can pick it back up a bit better now with my hands. So I have to get off my jig for the moment, just to get this decal on, like so. And then I can do the lower fairing decals, and I've got a Suzuki one that goes right underneath the belly pan, so that's why she's off the jig. And also I'll need to cut the panel line on this, so we can start getting that where I want it. Get it in place, and then we can let that conform itself to the curves of the fairing. Yeah, I'm liking her. And I've still got to come back later on in the build and do all the detail painting on this. You just don't forget the very early stages of the build, and I'm doing it a little bit differently than I normally do, so we've still got a lot of assembly to come. Be doing a lot of that in the next episode, folks, so that'll all be happening. I'll be blowing the exhaust using the same process that I did on the CBR Fireblade, and also with a bit of the Tamiya powder sets, so look out for that coming up. I'm actually looking forward to that, because again, it's that starting to get the bike assembled stage. Right, let's just click them on there, get these in the warm water, have you a bit of that. That one's ready, so that can go on. Same process as before, just drop it off the back end paper, and then just flick it into position as to where you want it. Try not to drop the bike, Cole. It'll end in tears. And the tank. Yeah. Right. So, let's have a look. Just move that where I want it. Yeah, pick up your scalpel, Cole. It's around somewhere, mate. I've put it down and I can't find it. So I'll just wet that on there. Like so. And start moving around. So, I mean, I'm not that great with the brushes, folks. I do prefer my scalpels to move stuff around. So, it is around somewhere. Just line this up, and the beauty of this is where that paint transition between the blue and the silver is, you can move your decal to pretty much exactly where it needs to be in relation to that. It's tend to what I use, and it will just definitely get that where it needs to be. Yeah. Right. Looking reasonably in place. try and stay in the centre of the camera for you peeps. It's just so that I can see. I've got a magnifier just above me as well that I use just so that I can quickly look through it and see things a lot clearer, because yeah, we are blokes of a certain age, us eModels builders, and the old eyesight, yeah. Just keep moving this about till I'm 100% happy. I'm a bit fussy, so sorry about that. And then we can just quickly refer to the other side and get this where I want it to be. And I often fettle bit by bit with these, because you want it to look a reasonably matching, don't you? There you go. Just tiny micromillimeter movements, just to get it looking reasonably the same. So yeah, I will get to the point I'll stop fettling with it, but it's just a little bit bronzed at the moment, so let's just double check it's got the same gap between it. It just needs to come down just a tad on that corner. Raise that a frackers and see what we're looking like now. Check the angle. Yep. There you go. Put it down. Stop fettling now, Cole. Yeah. Because, yeah. Which does look nice though. So let's just get the Ecster logo on. Get that bad boy in. Like so. And then we can make sure that they're all going to fit, all going to line up, and all going to have enough room on the side of that fairing. So we just need to give that a tweak. Make sure it's at the same height as the other side. We need to just re-wet that. Excuse me. And just get that to come up just a tad higher. Not a lot. It's just a hair and a bear. It's just enough then that the Ecster logo underneath will just raise up a fracker. I'm desperately trying not to put my finger on that GSX decal I've just put down. But that just lets that Ecster drop up a little bit, see? Like that. It lets it more or less sit where I'm happy with it. Let's bring that over a fraction. Like that. Happy days. And it is so therapeutic putting these decals down. I do enjoy it. The stage, I'm often asked the stage of the builds I enjoy the most, and for me, for some reason, it's decaling. I do enjoy decaling. It's just one of them parts of building that I just enjoy, because it goes from being I wouldn't say a bland build, but I don't know, the decal, especially on these bikes and on the touring cars and that, you know, it takes it from being a regular machine to the machine you see on the track, and it, for me, it just, yeah, just makes that difference. It really does. So I do enjoy it, because you get to see the bike taking shape, you get to see the livery and the final colour scheme taking shape, and I do enjoy this stage. What's your favourite stage of the build, folks? Leave a comment below the video. Be interesting to know what your favourite stages of your builds are. Are you building along with this one? If you're not, grab yourself one from eModels.co.uk. Nice segue there. Pop over, grab yourself the build, the kit, the paints, do all the tools that you need as well. Anything you need for the hobby. And this is for the guys up there. It's going, excuse me, it's going on display in their store. So if you do pop to the store, have a looky-loo. You'll see all our builds under there, folks. So just get this lined up reasonably to where I wanna. Again, same process as before. If you need to pop one of the screws out, take the screw out, move the decal up, get it to conform to what you want. So we can now start getting the sponsor's decals on the side of the mudguard there. Preferably on the mudguard and not stuck to me thumb. Yeah, don't be like Festa. Try and stick it to the model, not yourself. So we can just slide this over and get that to start conforming to the front mudguard. Like that. And I must admit, it's, yeah, seeing all these panels at this stage, it's, yeah, it just lets you see what the bike's going to come up like, and I'm really enjoying this one. It is a pleasure. So I'm happy with that. So we might as well put the other one on, and then we can start then just quickly flicking it around and just seeing whether we're, you know, pretty much mirror the other side is all you're doing. So just drop that on there. There you go. And then we can shove that over there out the way and get the old scalpel of sliding this back on there. And then push this decal to its final resting place. It's just a matter of fettle, and a bit more fettling. Like that. It's always nice to do this. And then we've got the Michelin Man on the side there. Like so. So we just rest that over there. Are we going to get the opportunity of the decal to swing on? Let's have a look. Let's see what other decals we can get on. We might as well. So we can let that go in there. Right, let's move that over. Grab the swing arm. I think we can get some decals on that bad boy as well. So yeah, a little bit further forward than I thought we would be in this episode, so I'm quite pleased with that. Just brush some solution on there. And then get the decal ready for that and all. I've got a little bit of white tack under there that's just resting on, so just lets the mudguard sit then at an angle that's easier for me to handle. So see whether that's ready to come off, and then we can pop that on the top of the front mudguard there. Needs a little bit more water. Just brush a bit more solution on there. There you go. So it's ready now. Just whop that in there like so. As you can see, we're now onto the swing arm. We can start getting some decals along the sides of this bad boy. That's what we want. So what have we got there? Got some sponsors, so we can get them on there. That'll start sliding off. Get them in place. It would be so cool seeing one of these gunning down the motorway. It'd be brilliant. I think Miguel Oliveira did it recently in Portugal. He took his KTM on the main road and rode into the circuit on it as a big advertisement thing, because it was his home Grand Prix, you know, and it gave a lot of the fans a chance to see the bike close up, and it just seemed so right seeing it riding through the city. So yeah, nice touch that was. Always nice that the riders do stuff for the fans. That's what I love about that sport. It's so approachable. So just pop that along the side there, like that. There you go. That's the Michelin along the side there. So I'll just slide that along in place, like so. Like that. There you go. Just quickly check. Yeah. Does that one need to go over a tad? Let's just check my pamphlet. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's just a fraction more. Not a lot, just enough. So we just want to get that as near as damn it as I can. There you go. So we're nearly at the end of this episode, peeps. So massive, massive, massive thanks to each and every one of you that's been in touch. Really is nice to hear from you. It's nice to see that you're building along with us. Again, if you want to grab one, pop over to eModels.co.uk, slap it in your basket, grab yourself the kit and some paints, say hello to the guys if you're in the store, have a look underneath and you'll see all our builds building up, and then you can join me in part 4 where we'll start assembling this bike. So hopefully you've enjoyed just sitting here spending a little bit of time with me whilst I've been decaling this. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Keep an eye out for the next episode. Like and subscribe to the eModels channel on mine, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.